Hello and welcome to tonight's Global Guy Talk session, where we talk about feelings, experiences and thoughts that men not always find it easy to talk about. My name is Joachim and I come straight from the Swedish forest, and being a guy myself, I will do my best to be a conversation leader tonight. So as some of you may know, Sweden has a long history of working to increase gender equality and women's rights, both nationally and globally. Since 2014, Sweden has also pursued a feminist foreign policy. Now this unfortunately doesn't mean that Sweden is spared from gender equality challenges or destructive norms as regards to masculinity. In the wake of a public discussion about abuse in 2016, the Swedish organization Make Equal launched an initiative where men got together to talk about their feelings, friendship, relationships, sex, their roles, and responsibilities as men. The initiative became a great success with a lot of national media attention, but also the concept proved valuable far beyond Swedish borders. Now, I believe that the challenges women in Sweden can be applied to the Korean society as well. I hope that Global Guy Talk will be an opportunity to share experiences with each other and also to reach a deeper level of understanding of how norms and expectations often create an unhealthy environment that we are responsible for changing. So let's talk tonight, not only for ourselves, but also to inspire other men to talk about their feelings. And to do that, with me tonight, I have these four wonderful gentlemen. I think that my partner or the parent of my child has a stronger connection to our children, and I envy that. All yeses. All right. Should we hear some? Jacob.
I think this actually goes in waves. So some periods I have been the closer, but for some reason my wife Johanna, I have a feeling at least that she is closer, that the children would open up more to her. But when I ask her, she is not always in agreement with me. And it can also differ from one child to the other, is my experience.
How about Jansson?
Well, for me as a backgrounder, my wife doesn't have a job and I do. So my wife spends about 5 times more time with our children. So they're not of age that can understand why daddy has to go to work.
Oh.
So I think for that reason, my wife enjoys a closer connection to our children.
And you feel envious because of that, do you?
Well, sometimes and sometimes not. Why not? Because they won't bother me at night when they're sad.
All right.
They look for their mother.
How about HD?
Yes, I guess it's primarily due to the fact that I work quite intensively, so I always get off work really late at night, and that kind of make my children to spend more time with my wife, and especially she teaches at an elementary school here in Korea, so her working hour is very in a way flexible, and she takes all the vacations when the kids are actually off from the school. So I think it all depends on the amount of the time that I'm spending with my kids is way less than the way my wife is spending with my kids. So I think that's part of the reason, and that I wish I have some more time, but then it's just always a matter of prioritizing. So that sometimes frustrates me as well. But at the same time, I have to work. I have to make money. I guess I accept it as my role and. Just to be in that way these days.
It's a battle.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say maybe a little more. It's easier for my wife to have a close emotional connection with my kids, but not in every detail or in every case, but a little bit more. I feel that, and I hope she can be humble and brave too, to answer yes to that too in some matters, where I feel that I maybe have a closer relationship with our two daughters, because that happens too.
Yeah, all right. Well, interesting. All it's the same yeses, but for different reasons, I think. Yeah. Let's go on with the next question. So, being a parent turned out to be just like I imagined. Yeah, all right. Where to start? Jacob?
Me again, yeah. No, I was terrified about having children. I tried to delay it as long as possible, but it's a lot of work in the beginning. But it's fantastic. These relations are, I wouldn't exchange them for anything in the world.
It's impossible to imagine that. I mean, suddenly there would be new individuals in your family or in your house. So I expected probably everything based on that. Of course, I could have read about it or imagined it, but I didn't think it would be this group of 4. But it is.
All right. Interesting. How about you, Jansson?
So before we had children, we enjoyed a very long honeymoon. I got married in 2010 and had my first child in 2017, so it was 7 full years. And then before, when we were having discussions of having a child, people around us told me and my wife that when you have a child, your identity as a person, a man and a woman, will be no more, and you will be your child's father and your child's mother. You'll much be less Hyun Suk-shim, and then you'll be Chaewon's father. And it's very different hearing these things and then really going into it. So having to balance those two things, family and work, in your early 30s, mid 30s, is coming as a challenge to me right now.
Oh, all right. But do you think losing yourself as an individual, is that a Korean thing, a cultural thing, do you think?
I can't really compare myself to parents from other nations, but when you have children, you have to be dedicated to them. And it means you can't have your own time when you feel like it. You can't have your own time after you've put your children to bed. So, yeah, that's what I meant by that.
All right. So early bedtime.
Yeah.
How about you, HD?
There's always some sort of expectation that I had for, I had my first child, that, I really wanted to be a great dad who always, thinking about my child and, spend the most of my time with my kids. But then after, I had my, children now I'm just thinking that there's always never enough, love. I should, just to speak a little bit more, I should, catch some more balls to, just to have a little bit more playtime with her.
Interesting. Not the answers I was expecting. All right. I'll finish up the yes and no questions here, and we'll go to the more beefy part. In what way do you think expectations and norms of fatherhood have affected you? And have they affected your relationship with your children?
Well, let me just start by defining what I understand as a norm of fatherhood in a typical Korean society would be. I think that as a typical Korean father, you'd be expected to be able to provide for your family, whether that be in material senses, pretty much. So in order to do that, you need to have a job, and being in a job brings you apart from your family. And I see my wife telling me the new things that the daughter has done, like she rolled over, she crawled for the first time. I wasn't at home to see that, and I was lucky to see them in a video, and my wife happened to record them.
How do you feel about that?
Well, no, I actually haven't thought about it that much. It's kind of natural since I've been working for the past 10 years or so. And my child is also used to dad not being at home during the day. And she loves it when on blue days and red days, Saturdays and Sundays. And she knows that daddy will be there during daytime.
The typical norms, of course, just like the Hyun-suk just mentioned, that the fathers always being in a spot where they need to provide enough material or some kind of contribution, make sure that they have enough food, they have enough money for them to actually do whatever they need to do, they want to do. But then I think the important thing is, I think that's just the minimum requirement, I guess. Just But then I guess the important thing is what should I do on top of the typical norms which the society has already set it up here in. So there's always, the balance that we have to, juggle around, where of course we only have two hands. If I just drop one and pick on another one, money, then you probably have to lose something which you're already holding on your hand. Might be the valuable time with your family.
If you cannot carry children, how do you feel about not being able to be the pregnant parent? Have you ever thought about that?
Well, I guess to me, I've never really thought about it. It's pretty much like the fact that my wife will have to be pregnant in order to have our baby. I feel a sense of obligation to somehow compensate for this inconvenience, especially during the pregnancy and especially during the time of recovery. And the child is young, they need the utmost care, but the mother who has just given birth needs all the care to herself too.
I remember how being kind of present, I mean, obviously during the delivery, that whole almost like divine and holy experience of being there when your child is seeing light for the first time, and then being present. Another way of, you talked about compensating, obviously being, on parental leave. So, I did I think it's maybe not so common in Korea yet, but I did 7 months with each of my 3 children. But there is ways of getting that intimacy, because what I remember I was really jealous about is that as a result of the pregnancy, there is an automatic intimacy, which is a little bit, there is like a bubble where you have to kind of work hard to get in. And that the only way of getting in is really being there, being present, taking over.
No, I thought it was interesting, and I didn't realize this was such a big question. And I thought, why is this not such a big question to me? But I think our firstborn, we had a C-section, and I got our daughter first, and then I had to take care of her for like 2 hours. And when I think back, because my wife was asleep, so I took care of her the first 2 hours, and then when she woke up, we went and met her. And I thought it was kind of cool then, because I was really hyped up being a dad, and this boundary, I think I kind of broke through because of that. Then I already had that experience. So maybe that had changed my envy for, having this first closeness, because I really had to deal with that in the beginning.
I think through pregnancy, through all those ultrasound sessions, the delivery and the breastfeeding period, whether you choose to do it or not, it forms a biological link between the mother and child that no father can naturally get through. They have to work at it. So when my elder daughter was about 2 years old, I took the 1-year papa leave. And I think that time was very important for me in getting close to my elder daughter. And I hope to get a similar chance with my second daughter, but I'll have to see how things will unfold.
All right.
Depends on Norway.
Depends on my superiors.
I hope your superiors will be nice to you.
They're older married males.
So no.
But that is actually a very important question, I think, because I think that managers in workplaces have an extremely important responsibility in that question, because essentially they are denying you the right to get a close relation with your child by not allowing papa leave. I think that's quite serious, actually. But it's about norms, I know that, and it's about expectations and culture. It used to be much more difficult to do that in Sweden like 30 years ago, but it's changing. It has changed. So I think that's possible in Korea as well.
I think Korea is changing at the very moment as well. I've seen the change in my few years here as well. So
I hope so. It's really the culture thing and also the financial incentive thing.
yeah.
So in Korea, when you do the papa leave, your salary falls to less than half of what you were getting. So it's financially difficult. And also at the same time, when you go back to work, you can't expect to be treated the same way as others who haven't taken the papa leave.
I just must add, because I think it's so tremendously important what we are talking about. I think that I mean, the question you, Junzok, mentioned about that you get half of the pay. And the other thing is that I am convinced that even if you lose a year or two when you are in the 30s, what you gain by being with your children is not only a closer relation and more understanding of your children, but also of your wife's situation. And then you become actually a fuller and more mature person. And that actually, I think, pays off also later in your career, because you become a nicer colleague and maybe a better manager and leader. So you might actually overtake your colleagues by being a more suitable colleague and leader later on through those very experiences.
So do you ever feel that you have lost yourself somewhere along the way of becoming a father?
Yes, absolutely not. I mean, this has this has created so many new social opportunities, and I am convinced that that being a parent also, it makes you a bit less egoistic. Yeah?
So you didn't find any difficulty at all to maintain?
But I remember in the first year, as I found it difficult with my independence, that I felt that I had lost an independence. And that's why, at least, we were struggling. I was thinking about you, or you before, when you mentioned that you were, you couldn't, it was like 24/7 work. I think it's important to, just tell your, the grandparents, your parents, okay, take care of the kids a weekend. We need a weekend out, my wife and I.
Right. How about you, HD?
Well, I guess it's just a matter of, whether you're a father or not, or father or mother either. I think the amount of the stresses that you get from the work is probably equal. And I guess we all, wanted to, find some sort of place where we can actually relieve ourselves.
Do you feel that your wife has the same opportunity to follow her interests or maintain her hobbies?
Probably not, because my wife will definitely disagree with me, all the things that I just said. Because in her point of view, she thinks that, hey, HD, you're just doing everything what you ever wanted. But then you're just doing whatever you want to do at work. I mean, you can just, study and you can just go anywhere.
Do you feel that you give her opportunities to maintain her hobbies?
Never really thought about that.
No?
That's a good question.
Think about it.
Yeah.
How about you, Simon?
My ideas of equality, raising two girls, ideas of being digital connected to the social network, and I have been more forced to handle it as it comes and maybe adapt more to how their reality look like.
How about you, Janto?
And the first year into my marriage, I actually took the Korean Foreign Service exam, so I might have been a diplomat like Jacob here. But then during the course of the exam, I made it to the final round, and I just was thinking about how I would live a life with a family abroad in very foreign countries, changing every 3 to 4 years. And then probably an interviewer saw the wavering determination in my eye, decided not to pick me. I guess they made the right decision. And that experience made me rethink the priorities in my life. So I don't know if this was myself evolving into the father I am right now, but I guess it turned out the right way.
Do you think your wife feels the same?
Probably not. Because having a job means you can be outside your home, you can meet people at work, and you have a little bit of freedom on your way back home, if you know what I mean. And you can have occasional evenings out like this one right now, which I'm enjoying very much.
This is your spare time?
Yes, this is my spare time.
Are you comfortable with discussing serious topics with your children? For example, sex, sexuality, consent, violence, racism, death, and sorrow?
There was a lot of subjects. Most of them, I would say, I'd be comfortable with. A lot of things we watch on TV, and we watch a lot of movies, and that's a good way to watch a series or something together and then talk about it.
I guess my kids are a little too young, I would say, to talk about some, controversial things that are actually, going on in this world. I mean, but then definitely, I think it's part of the parents' responsibility to specifically, tell them about some sort of, the thoughts for them to be pondered.
Well, my elder daughter is 5, so we can't really talk about serious stuff, and my younger one is 5 months old, so she can't talk at all.
I envy friends and other parents who find a way to talk casually about it. I find it difficult. Am I kind of targeting the right type of topic at the right age? Will I scare them away by talking about these issues in an age when they are very embarrassed? I find this tremendously difficult, and I see that as a weakness in my fatherhood.
So this will have to be the end of this evening's conversation. Now, I surely don't think I'm the only one who found tonight's session very rewarding.
I thought it was super interesting, very nice to be invited with this. I think this is something that is really needed between fathers and different cultures.
Today, when I go back home, I'm probably gonna give a big hug to my wife and my kids.
So it's been a really nice evening to come here and talk about these things. Thank you.
Thank you.
I found it fascinating. Really, thank you for being so open and sharing what you have just shared.
I would also like to thank you for joining us today and sharing your experiences. You have given me a lot to think about before becoming a father. Now this marks the end of today's session, but it is our hope that Global Guy Talk doesn't end here. We want to encourage everyone and anyone to join Global Guy Talk. Thank you for watching and keep talking.